Have you ever asked an AI a question and gotten back something, well, completely useless? Yeah, we've all been there. But what if I told you the secret to getting brilliant, helpful answers isn't about finding a better AI, but about becoming a better asker? Okay, let's dive into this and turn those frustrating AI chats into seriously productive collaborations.
You know that feeling, right? You ask for something specific, and it just spits out this generic, boring paragraph. But don't worry, there's a fix for that. And honestly, it's way simpler than you might think.
And that's the big secret. The power is actually in your hands. Learning how to craft a good instruction, what we call a prompt, is the single biggest skill you can develop to unlock what these tools can really do. To get good at asking, first we need to understand who or, what we're actually talking to. So let's pull back the curtain for a second on what artificial intelligence really is.
So, at its core, AI is really just about getting computers to do things that we normally think of as, well, human. It's not magic. It's all about recognizing patterns, making predictions, and generating responses based on a truly massive amount of data it's learned from.
What's really fascinating about this whole process is how AI learns. Instead of giving it a bunch of rigid rules, you just feed it millions of examples, say spam emails or chess games, and it starts to learn the underlying patterns all by itself. It becomes a master of inference, not just following instructions.
Okay, so building on that idea, when you're chatting with an AI, you're usually talking to a specific kind called a large language model, or an LLM for short. This is the mind we're learning to communicate with.
And this is a brilliant way to think about how it all works. An LLM isn't looking things up in a database like a search engine. It's actually generating a response, one word at a time, based on the statistical patterns it learned from all the books and websites it was trained on. It's basically predicting the most probable next word to form a coherent answer.
Now, it is absolutely vital to understand what these models are built for and what they're not. On the left, you can see they're incredible at language tasks, summarizing, drafting, explaining stuff. But on the right, we have to talk about their critical limits. They can hallucinate, which is a nice way of saying they can confidently just make things up. And because they learn from the internet, they can absolutely reflect the biases found there. Just always remember this: they don't know things, they predict them.
Okay, now that we know who we're talking to, let's get into the main event, the art of the prompt. This is where we turn a simple question into a powerful instruction that gets us exactly what we need.
I absolutely love this analogy because it's just so perfect. Vague requests are going to get you vague results. Specificity is your best friend when you're talking to an AI. You've got to be the clear-headed passenger who knows exactly where they want to go.
So, how do we get specific? Well, it pretty much boils down to these 5 key elements you see here. First, clarity, no vague requests. Next, you got to give it some background context. Who's this for? What do they already know? Then, assign it a role. Tell it to be a professional copywriter or even a sarcastic comedian. Tell it the format you want, bullet points, a table, an email. And finally, give it constraints, things like word count or even concepts it shouldn't mention.
Okay, let's see this in action. The weak prompt on the left is basically an invitation for a long, generic essay. But look at the strong prompt. It uses our elements. The task is specific. Summarize 3 causes. The context is the audience, a high school student. The format is clear, bullet points, and there's a constraint, under 150 words. I promise you, the difference in the output you'll get is going to be night and day.
Here's another really practical example. Asking it to write a cover letter is almost useless, right? But a strong prompt gives it everything it needs to succeed. You'd say, write a 1-page cover letter for a junior marketing role at a tech startup. My tone should be enthusiastic but professional. See, we've given it a role, context like the industry and my experience, and constraints on the length and tone. Now it can actually draft something genuinely helpful. So once you've really mastered those 5 elements, you can start using some more advanced techniques. These are the strategies that help you tackle more complex problems and get even more accurate results. This is a total game changer, especially for logic or math problems. It's a technique called chain of thought prompting. By simply asking the AI to think step by step, you force it to follow a logical sequence instead of just jumping to a conclusion. And that right there dramatically reduces errors. Let's look at this in action. A weak prompt might just state the problem. A store has 240 apples, they sell 60% on Monday and a third of the remainder on Tuesday. How many are left? The AI might get it right, or it might make a simple calculation error.
But the strong prompt adds one magic phrase at the end. Think through this step by step before giving your final answer. That simple addition forces the AI to lay out its reasoning, making it far more likely to get the right answer.
Now, getting better answers is really only half the battle. This new power comes with a whole new set of responsibilities. And being a thoughtful, savvy user doesn't just mean being ethical. It also helps you get much more reliable results. This is such a clear way to understand a key limitation: AI bias. The models learn from our world, and, well, our world contains biases. So if the data it's trained on is skewed, its outputs will be skewed too. It's just going to amplify the patterns it sees, for better or for worse. It's something you always have to keep in the back of your mind when you're evaluating its answers.
So what can we do? This slide gives us a great little checklist. First, are you verifying the outputs? Remember, AI can be confidently wrong, so always fact-check important details. Are you being transparent when work is AI-assisted? Are you thinking about the impact of what you create? And importantly, when you see a biased output, are you challenging it? Don't just accept a flawed answer. Pushing back is how you get better results.
Ultimately, learning to prompt well changes your entire relationship with AI. It stops being just a search box that sometimes gets things wrong and starts becoming a true creative partner, a research assistant, a powerful collaborator. So the only question left is, what will you build with it?